Say, kids, what time is it?
It's kind of like watching TV, but, in your car.
104.7 The Cave. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens in the studio once again. It is Dark Side of the Stream.
Oh, yes. Where we find hidden gems on the streaming services.
This week was Jay's pick, and he picked the Beaver Trilogy Part 4. And I was like...
Yeah. Should we watch 1, 2, 3? No.
Don't watch anything about it. Don't watch anything about it.
Don't Google it.
Don't look at it.
Don't Google it. Even you at home right now, watch it on Amazon.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't
Google anything. Just watch the Beaver Trilogy 4.
So I'll give you some backstory. Jay picked this, and I was like, okay, whatever. So I waited till the last possible minute to watch it, of course. And
last night,
I'm literally laying in bed with my wife. We're watching. My wife's just going,
oh, she watched it too?
Oh, we both watched it together.
No, I owe her flowers or something.
Like, what is this? And I was like, I don't know. This is the most confusing thing I've ever seen. And we're like 20 minutes in. I text Jay. I'm like, dude, what is this? He's just like, LOL. And I'm like, what the hell? So basically, it tells a story of this guy. Then they quote,
the filmmaker's the greatest. They say he's probably the greatest filmmaker of all time.
That you've never heard of.
Never heard of, right?
Bill Hader narrates the
which was another crazy aspect.
But he does it like in a this is real serious.
like the crime drama guy.
Yeah. And it was a Tuesday night in Springfield.
Yeah, the whole thing is just
so bizarre. So anyway, it tells the story of this guy. He was working at a news station.
How can you even explain this to somebody that hasn't seen it? Like,
I don't know.
Like if you're listening, they're going to think it's even weirder secondhand information.
Hopefully, it gets you to watch it.
Yeah,
it's so weird. Anyway, it tells the story of this filmmaker. He was working as a producer in a TV station in Salt Lake that was pretty progressive for the area and the time, called Extra. And they would do really weird, like news pieces about the Hells Angels or
stories
drugs
on weird topics,
or weird stuff, especially for like dead center Mormon country. It was definitely way progressive. And one day, this guy is outside shooting some film for a news deal, and he sees this kid taking pictures of their helicopter, the news station's helicopter, and he goes and starts filming this kid who would go by the name Groovin' Gary. And during the filming,
and the kid was like a natural in the camera. He would do impersonations out like
literally. If you could have caught Jay Stevens on the beach in Venice in the like late 90s, just hanging out surfing.
Yeah. What's up? Sure, I'll be on your camera. Yeah. What are you guys doing? Yeah.
And so this kid like does some impressions of like John Wayne and Sly Stallone, which was actually they weren't bad at all.
No, he was talented kid.
And like he's a small town kid from Beaver, Utah. And so this director and this kid kind of strike up a relationship, and the guy's like, hey, I've got a talent show at my school coming up in a couple weeks. You should come shoot it. He's like, okay, cool, I'll do that. So he does, and this kid goes in drag. First of all, his parents own a mortuary. And so his mom, who does makeup on dead people, is the one who does his makeup, puts him in drag, and his drag stage name is Olivia Newton-Dawn. And basically, he and his friends make this parody of an Olivia Newton-Dawn song, and it does not go well at all. No, and at first, you're kind of watching this thing, and you're like, is this real life? Like, the drag thing doesn't bother me, and people do impressions all the time. It's a thing. That's whatever. But at the same time, you're kind of like, this is just so strange. And we'll get to why it was
weird. And it gets weirder.
Oh, it gets real weird. And we'll get to what happened next. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave. 104.7 The Cave. Jay Stevens, Mike the Intern, back in the studio. It is Dark Side of the Stream. Today we are discussing the documentary Beaver Trilogy Part 4. I know what you're asking yourself. Wait a minute. Part 4 of a trilogy. How does that work? Well, the documentary is Part 4 of what is been called the greatest movie you've never seen or heard of, which I'll argue that all day. It's not that great. But back to what we were talking about. So this guy makes this filming this kid, goes to this town, Beaver, right, and he's in drag, and they do a thing, and they show that part of it, and then they completely they cut to the next part of the trilogy, which you're watching this thing, and all of a sudden you see this guy who looks like Sean Penn. It just immediately goes to it. You're like, whoa.
And it is Sean Penn.
Whoa. Sean Penn. And so basically this filmmaker made another version of the Beaver movie, but instead of having Groovin' Gary, he had Sean Penn playing Groovin' Gary. And then after the whole thing is over, the drag show and all that stuff, he gets a call from Groovin Gary, who's Sean Penn now, and tells the director, don't air this, man. And then literally like puts a gun in his mouth and thinks about attempting suicide because he's so freaked out about being in drag and what his town's going to think and all this stuff that he's just so nervous about it. And you're like, whoa, that's some stuff. And then I guess at a certain point, the filmmaker was claiming this was all made up. And then he does a third
version of
this
story. With another famous
actor. And it was...
the dude from Marty McFly's dad. Glover.
Yeah, Chris... hold on, we're going to make this...
You know his face
Crispin
when you
Glover,
see the guy's face, yeah.
Who plays George McFly. And he goes on in the same story.
They remake the documentary movie, the movie of the documentary again.
He attempts suicide after the performance, and you're like, what in the hell? And again, the director's like, no, this is dramatic. Well, no. Turns out after the first Beaver trilogy, the Groovin Gary guy literally shot himself in the chest after this happened because of the backlash he got for dressing up in drag at a talent show. Then survives it, puts on a different shirt, goes downstairs. His dad cooks him breakfast. He starts eating breakfast and goes, Dad, I got to tell you something. He goes, what? He goes, I shot myself. He's like, what? Dude survived a shot to his chest. And it was just like, what in the hell is going on? This is the craziest thing in the world. It doesn't make it like, it's so discombobulated.
But then there's also pieces of it that are like, make it legitimate. So at first I'm thinking, okay, whole thing is just full of it. This is just whacked out. Then I'm like, well, wait a minute. Sean Penn is in this thing now. And I'm like, so it really is a thing? And then it's like, wait a minute, this other actor's in it. This guy really is a great filmmaker and goes around the world wow, man.
It's so bizarre. And we'll get to more of why it's so bizarre. Next, it's Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave. 104.7 The Cave, Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio. It is Dark Side of the Stream. We're trying to make sense of what is known as the Beaver Trilogy Part 4. And as we were talking in the break, Jay made a really good point, which was this is such a weird... he goes, is this the weirdest one we've watched?
It's definitely the weirdest one
It's in the top 3, for sure. Yeah. I would still say Abducted in Plain Sight.
Well, Abducted in Plain Sight had some weird stuff going on, but you could follow on the story. This one... Very hard to follow the story.
It's so weird.
They kind of were shooting a documentary about a kid, and then they try to make a movie about that, and then they make another movie about that, and then this is a documentary about all of that. It's layers
so
of deepness.
Jay said best before he started, he goes, I don't know how the hell we're going to explain this to people.
People listening right now are probably like, what is Mike and Jay talking about? Watch it, and we would love to get email responses from you guys hey, I watched it. This is my take on it, because I'm sure everybody can take something different out of it. We're going to get a lot of hate mail for it as well.
It's so crazy. It's so it blows my mind that this exists. But yeah, this guy makes this documentary.
So what happened to Groovin Gary, man?
Well, Groovin Gary, we'll get to that in a minute. Real quick though, after he made this movie with the Beaver trilogy, he would go on to make another movie, which was, what was it? Like Crispin Glover came up with this character. It was like Edwin and Edwin
a
and
weird
me,
mainstream movie.
Ed or
but these documentary, these Beaver trilogy movies that he made, they got high acclaim at all the film festivals and stuff. You know, he was sitting there with all these famous directors and stuff, and everybody was praising his movie about these.
That's the thing I just don't understand.
The greatest filmmaker nobody's ever heard of. Everybody was praising. They said
Ruben and Ed.
Yeah, that's the other movie he made. Which I'm sure that one's weird. I don't know if we want to go down that rabbit hole another day.
That's the thing. Like, it's so
cult classic or something.
Bizarre. The Ruben Ed thing. I really don't understand how that even got made. I think they made $15,000 at the box office. I don't know, my goodness. But I don't understand why everyone was saying this guy is a great filmmaker, because it's literally just weird stuff. But yeah, I still don't even really think I understand. I understand that there was this movie with this guy, and he was really bent up about it, tried to kill himself, and then this director tried to make different movies based on this story, because it's a crazy story. But the director, I think, lacked some really interesting keys as far as being a director, as far as telling that story, and maybe that's why it was so weird. But yeah, you have this. It's so hard to explain it, because you really can't explain it unless you hear it. It's like trying to describe early Pink Floyd songs. It's like I can't describe it.
Or like
to you.
trying to describe like a dream, a weird dream.
Yeah,
it's like you can't. You got to be there, so you have to see it.
Yeah.
But good for you. You can see it on Amazon.
Yeah, or you can watch it for free on Tubi. It's on there
on
too.
Tubi
Yeah,
as well?
it's on Tubi for free.
See? These guys blowing up.
We're giving you some free stuff to watch. It's called the Beaver Trilogy Part 4, and we in a few minutes will discuss our thoughts on it and rate it. Next, Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave. 104.7 The Cave, Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio. It is Dark Side of the Stream discussing the Beaver Trilogy Part 4, which
not to be confused with Part 1, 2, or 3.
Very, very weird. It's just so strange. And it's crazy. And Groove and Gary, like we mentioned after this, would go on to live I think he survived until 2009 after this went down and was just kind of a guy, you know. Everyone, his sisters had nothing but good things to say about him.
Never
his
made
families,
it in the big time.
I think he just wanted to live and
drive his cool car.
Thing. He did get married to a woman who he lived with until the end of his life. He
did he ever get to meet Olivia Newton-John?
I don't know.
Because it kind of almost is very.
When they found that Xanadu poster with the Newton-John, I thought it was funny, but at the same time, I was kind of jealous because I want that poster. So find me a Xanadu.
He had her etched in his car windows.
Yeah. He had her name. Yeah, her name on the sides. Like he was big into Olivia, and who wouldn't be at that time in the world? True. I mean, come on, dude. You know. Sandy. Anyway, so as far as ratings go, how many Olivia Newton-John impressions would you give this documentary?
3, because
that's literally what I was going to say.
Because it was worth watching because it was so weird, but like you said, the world is no different with this in it or not in it.
It does not change the world.
How long was this thing? 2 hours? Those 2 hours
83 minutes. No, that's the Beaver Trilogy. Yeah, it was maybe an hour and a half.
So hour and a half that you'll never get back. But if you got an hour and a half where you want to just like be really confused and see some weird things, this is your movie.
If you're a filmmaker, aspiring filmmaker,
they say
like crazy Hollywood
they
stories.
say they use this in film schools as like a film study of this is how to shoot a movie.
I don't know, man. It's
no Star Wars, but
it's definitely no Star Wars. It's definitely no the Return Home, Voyage Home, Star Trek either. So anyway, solid 3 Olivia Newton-John impressions from me on this documentary, which again, you can watch it, Beaver Trilogy Part 4 on Tubi for free. And next week, it's my turn. And since I've been feeling nostalgic recently, I think for my pick, I'm going to do the Orange Years documentary, which is about Nickelodeon.
Oh, nice.
You probably got a little bit of that because they started at the end of your teen year.
They were. I think my kids, my oldest daughter, there was some Nickelodeon action in the house, the slime thing. So
plenty of stuff for me.
Yeah, I'll be down with that. Where is it at?
I believe it's Netflix. It's Netflix or Hulu, one of the two, but I know we can find it either way. So yeah, the Orange Years documentary is the next episode we're going to watch on Dark Side of the Stream, which will also be our 50th episode. Isn't that crazy? We made it 50 episodes. Every time we do a new one, I'm like, I can't believe we're still doing this damn thing.
Diamond Jubilee or what is that? What's the 50?
Someone send us a piece of wood for our anniversary. As always, you can watch us do this live on Facebook. You can always download it as a podcast on our 104.7 The Cave app. This has been Dark Side of the Stream. Jay Stevens, Mike the Intern on 104.7 The Cave.